In the autumn of 2014, something strange happened in a close-knit neighborhood in Zibo, a small city in coastal Shandong province. Folks living in the neighborhood found their previously very sensible neighbor, Mr. Sun Fengjun, suddenly began to act weirdly. He would drop in on them out of the blue, chat half-heartedly with them, then linger in their gardens and gaze at their grapevines for what seemed like an eternity. And he seemed to be only interested in visiting households that had grapevines growing in their gardens. When the very curious neighbors inquired about what he was doing or what was wrong with the grapes, he would smile back at them and carry on with his grape gazing. This went on for quite a long time. In the end, his bemused neighbors concluded that Mr. Sun was telling fortunes for the grapes. Jokes aside, they were right that Mr. Sun Fengjun was studying the grapes, and that something big was indeed brooding in his mind. In the colored glaze art studio in Zibo, we find Sun Fengjun fully focused. He lights the stationary blowtorch and begins to heat a rod of glass over the flames.
I'm preheating this rod of glass because if it is not warmed up and is suddenly exposed to high temperatures, it can explode. That could potentially cause injuries to the hands or face. I want to make a secret deal with it. I will start with the hind legs once the rod melts.
Using another rod of glass, he deftly pulls out a stream of molten glass from the melted one, gives it a gentle turn in the middle, and tugs at the far end a couple of times. The stream of molten glass quickly cools and stiffens once it leaves the flame, and the hind leg of the deer takes shape. In the same fashion, a second hind leg is formed instantly.
The deer's formed rear legs must be positioned properly, otherwise the deer's overall form motion won't look right. Now, I'm supporting the deer's rear with a rod of glass. This way, it's easier for me to shape his other body parts. Now, let's dot some white spots on the deer's body, just like that.
Sun Fengjun takes the deer's body away from the flame, examines it, then brings the deer's head back toward the flame. He's about to sculpt the details of the head.
I'm shaping the deer's antlers. This is the most delicate part. The ears should go underneath the antlers. If this part is not molded finely, the whole body will look disproportionate, and the deer won't look good. The neck looks a bit too straight. I will have it turn sideways, just a tiny bit. Then, his whole posture will look more graceful.
With these words, he holds the antler and gives it a barely noticeable tweak. Instantly, the glazed deer takes on a different air. It stands tall and proud, turning its head slightly sideways, as if observing the surroundings where it has been quietly grazing and enjoying the sunshine. The whole posture of the deer looks graceful, subtle, and true to life. By now, you must have figured it out that Sun Fengjun is a colored glaze artist. Boshan is a district in Zibo City, one of the birthplaces of Chinese ceramics and colored glaze art. Since the 13th century, colored glaze has been produced in large quantity here. In Boshan, Sun Fengjun has earned the nickname Sun the Grape Master. As the name suggests, crafting grapes out of glass is his signature skill. The grapes he makes look lifelike and luscious and are popular among buyers. But Sun himself has never been fully satisfied, because he knew that something was missing. His grapes were just way too shiny. He feels they need a delicate layer of bloom to truly resemble real grapes. But adding that thin, natural-looking veil of bloom has proved to be a technical challenge that has haunted him for years.
If I can develop the perfect technique to add bloom to colored glaze grapes, it would be a breakthrough for me and for Boshan's colored glaze art industry. I'm determined to make it happen, but it hasn't been easy. The bloom often came out either too thick or too faint. The color just wasn't right.
Over these past years, Sun has tested dozens of glass materials, repeatedly adjusted his formulas, and experimenting with various lamp working methods in his quest to create the ideal bloom effect. During those years, it has become a routine for him to come and observe how the bloom grows on real grapes whenever he hit a creative block. So the mystery behind Mr. Sun's odd behavior, his frequent visits to neighbors and puzzling grape gazing, has finally been explained. Today, Sun and his son, Sun Lei, who has taken up the craft and now works alongside his father, find themselves once again in a neighbor's yard. They quietly exchange thoughts as they study the ripening grapes hanging from the vine.
Look at the surface of these grapes. They have this layer of bloom. The grape clusters can be tightly packed or loosely hanging. Even the size of the grapes in a single cluster varies.
The father and son are still refining their technique so that they can apply just the right amount of bloom to their colored glaze grapes. Each time they return from these grape observing sessions, Sun Fengjun launches into new rounds of experiments. Sometimes he tweaks the lamp working technique, other times he alters the ingredients or painstakingly traces the reasons for failure. After years of trial and error, he has finally cracked the code.
In my last experiment, I used a new glass ingredient mix and a special lamp working technique. The result came very close to what I wanted. I repeated the process, and after all this time of research and countless trials, I finally figured out how to apply the perfect bloom layer to glass grapes. I did it.
Yes, he did it. He achieved a technical breakthrough by successfully adding a bloom coating to colored glaze grapes. But few people know that 2 decades ago, this very artist was laid off after his colored glaze art factory went bankrupt, leaving him struggling to make ends meet. So how did he rise from being unemployed to becoming a well-recognized master of colored glaze art? And what new goals is he setting his sights on? More to come on Footprints. You're listening to Footprints. In his 3-story studio, a colored glaze artwork of a peach tree often catches visitors' attention. The piece features several half-red peaches peeking out from beneath vibrant green leaves. Upon closer inspection, one can spot a green bush cricket resting on an inviting ripening peach and a ladybug nestling among the foliage. This lively and intricate piece, created by Sun Fengjun, is a fusion of both furnace work and lamp working techniques. The branches and leaves of the peach tree were crafted using the lamp working method, while the peaches themselves were formed through furnace work. Although Sun Fengjun specializes in lamp working, he's equally skilled in furnace craft, which is not very common.
I learned furnace work from my father when I was around 12. Then, in 1968, at the age of 16, I became a glaze craftsman at the Boshan Fine Arts and Color Glaze Plant. I started with furnace work, but later I shifted my focus to lamp working.
For those unfamiliar with colored glaze art, it is often referred to as sculpture in fire. The art involves various techniques such as glass blowing, lamp working, shaping, interior painting, and carving. Blowing generally refers to furnace craft. Together with lamp working, there are 2 main traditional methods of glass blowing. Furnaces are often used to create large-scale items such as vases and sculptures by melting glass materials in large kilns. Lamp working, on the other hand, is a smaller-scale glass-blowing method. It involves heating glass with a blowtorch, then shaping and sculpting the molten glass over the flames. At the Bush and Fine Arts and Colored Glaze plant, Sun spent many years honing his skills as a furnace glass worker. Yet he found himself more drawn to lamp working, a technique that allows for delicate, detailed creations such as butterflies, fish, and flowers. At the time, he could only experiment with lamp working at home, crafting his own small figures of crickets and dragonflies. A turning point came in 2003 when a major setback struck while he was just in his 50s.
Unfortunately, our color glaze plant went bankrupt. I was left to fend for myself. Before that, I had already been experimenting with small lampwork pieces at home using a blowtorch. That experience turned out to be invaluable. To support my family, I immediately turned to lampworking. My background in furnace work also provided a solid foundation for developing my lampworking skills.
Life had to go on. Sun Fengjun found himself a basement and set up a small colored glaze studio where he began creating colored glaze art products. Business was slow at first. Gao Yanmin, who had once worked with Sun at the Bush and Fine Arts and Colored Glaze plant, witnessed the difficult times his old friend endured.
He worked in a tiny basement studio, just a few square meters in size. It was extremely rudimentary. His wife often helped him inflate a car tire with oxygen, which was needed for the glaze-making process. There he set out to make his own glaze glass works and refining his lamp-working techniques, building on what he had previously learned.
In 2007, a middleman from Beijing reached out to Sun with some good news. A Chinese-American client wanted him to make some samples of glass spheres. Sun sent the samples to the United States, but then heard nothing back for a long while. His old pal Gao Yanmin recalls those challenging days vividly.
He had set up his glaze studio using borrowed money. After months of waiting, he went to Beijing to see the middleman, who helped him connect with the American client. The client praised the craftsmanship of the samples and promised that an order would follow soon. By then, Sun's studio was on the brink of financial collapse. That potential order was a lifeline. When he learned it was a large one, it marked a turning point for his studio. That night, he wrapped himself in a blanket and quietly shed some tears of relief.
From that moment on, the market opened up for Sun Fengjun's colored glaze art. Sun Fengjun believes the secret to a successful artwork lies in meticulous attention to detail. For him, that can only come from close observation of nature. Beyond his signature colored glaze crepes, Sun Fengjun has yet another technical challenge to tackle. He's good at sculpting green bush crickets. The bush crickets of his creation are lifelike. They often rest in a leisurely way on leaves, yet their eyes remain alert, as if they are ready to spring away at the slightest disturbance. But Sun Fengjun is still aiming for a technical upgrade for his beloved bush cricket works. Despite their appeal, his current cricket works haven't entirely been made of glass. Some parts were fixed together using non-glass materials. He wanted perfection. Examining his latest cricket creation alongside his wife and son, Sun was clearly dissatisfied.
Its antennae are a bit too thick, and there is a crack in the belly. We can't just rely on imagination. Let's take a walk to the hillside and find a real bush cricket.
Walking along a narrow dirt path in the hills, side by side with his wife, Sun's eyes glanced at the roadside grasses, his ears alert for any telltale sound.
Let's hope we can find a live bush cricket soon, and we can have a close look at it.
Then he found what he has been looking for.
I think I hear one singing. There it is. Wait, let me take a good look while it's still in the wild. We might use this as our reference.
The bush cricket sat calmly atop an ear of corn. Sun gently pushed aside the corn leaf covering it.
Its belly isn't round. The upper part is full, but it tapers down. Not too big overall. Look at those strong femora. This one's a big fellow. It doesn't even flinch.
The insect remained undisturbed, lowering its head to clean its body. Sun Fengjun watched in admiration.
Look at that posture. Beautiful. Hold this cage for me, will you? Let me catch it. Turn the cage a bit. Easy. Got it. Good thing we brought its slit home with us.
Back in his studio, Sun got to work on a new cricket sculpture, guided by his close study of the live one. This time, no detail was overlooked. Even the fine hairs on the front legs were visible. But Sun Fengjun was especially excited for another reason.
I've made real progress in the technique. Now, the entire cricket is glass, welded together directly under the torch. No glue. Next, I will make a few more and finalize the process. For now, I'm pretty satisfied.
A love for colored glaze art, a drive for perfection, respect for traditional techniques, plus an unbeatable spirit for innovation are perhaps what helped Sun Fengjun grow from a furnace glass worker into a fully fledged colored glaze artist. Nowadays, with his aestheticism for art getting more refined, Sun is getting pickier and often finds fault with his previous works.
It takes time to reflect and re-examine everything with a cool head. This reflection process helps me improve my craft.
Sun Fengjun has been working with colored glaze art his entire life. Both his father and grandfather were colored glaze artisans. Coming from such a family background, Sun cherishes and carries on with the traditional colored glaze making techniques. But he's also sure his innovation will help this traditional craft develop better.
What is innovation? Creating something that no one else has ever created. That's innovation. We should innovate on the basis of our traditional craft. To create good glazed art with lamp working, you need to put in all your heart. You can leave off your past gains. It just won't work if you stop exploring further with whatever little achievement you had.
Now in his 70s, perhaps nothing could make this colored glaze master more content than to see his little granddaughter also showing interest in this national intangible cultural heritage. The little girl has already made some colored glaze small animals on the blowtorch his grandfather uses. Yellow, scarlet, purple and green. Under the heat of a blowtorch, slender rods of glass melt and transform into dazzling works of art. With what seemed like effortless pulls, twists and rolls, Sun Fengjun's magical hands and enduring passion for fire have allowed him to preserve and innovate in this traditional art. That's it for this episode of Footprints. Thank you for being with me. If you're interested in hearing more about the lives of ordinary but incredible people in China, follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just key in Footprints and you can find more stories anytime, anywhere. I'm Ningjing. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.